I've talked about Patriot Mobile's commitment to faith, family, and freedom. Have you made the switch yet? Support your values with your cell phone without sacrificing quality or service. Are you worried about coverage? Don't be. Patriot Mobile uses all three major U.S. networks. If you have a cell phone service today, you can get service with Patriot Mobile. Do you think switching is hard? It's not. Their 100% U.S.-based customer service team can activate you in minutes. They even have a contract buyout. So go to patriotmobile.com/Kirk25 or call 972-PATRIOT. Use promo code Kirk25 for a free month of service. We're here at the Bitcoin.com mobile studio. You can email us freedom@charliekirk.com. We are going to start the show today with an argument. We're going to try to make a case. Now, mind you, the argument we're going to make is going to divide a lot of our audience. It will be divided by generational lines and divided by geography, and that's okay. It is necessary sometimes to weigh in on the most controversial issues imaginable. And this is one issue when I go on campus, one of the few issues that the audience tends to not love the perspective that I have. But I'm still unwavering in my opinion on this. And this is all stemming from something, and by the way, President Trump is doing a phenomenal and fabulous job. We remain committed towards continuing the MAGA agenda. But President Donald Trump confirmed during his press conference on Monday that the administration is looking at, no decisions have been made, so it's a perfect time for us to submit our argument for consideration. Looking at reclassifying marijuana. The reclassification would move marijuana out of a Schedule I drug. It would then get moved down to Schedule III, which is for drugs with moderate to low potential for physical and psychological dependence, such as anabolic steroids and testosterone. President Trump said he has not made a final decision, and he is still weighing it. So here is the view that we have on this program. The view that I have in particular is that, of course, marijuana is not good for you. You know, a lot of people will say that, well, marijuana has all these wonderful upsides. You can use it to relax and to go to sleep. We have vastly underestimated. This is the first contention. Even if you are in favor of legalization and in favor of reclassification, you have to agree that there has been a downplaying of the negative parts of widespread and casual and recreational marijuana use. We have abundant abundant pieces of data at this point to be able to go piece by piece and ask the question, has this made people healthier? Is it making society healthier? Is it making people sicker? So let's just go through some of the data just on the health aspects. I think it's important to first talk about. So from the data that we have in front of us, numerous longitudinal studies link heavy marijuana use, especially in adolescents, to increase risk of psychosis, schizophrenia, anxiety, and depression. Cognitive impairment, THC affects memory, attention, and learning. Chronic use may lead to persistent cognitive deficits. Also, respiratory harm. Smoking cannabis can cause chronic bronchitis, lung irritation, with unknown long-term cancer risks. We're still learning. And by the way, for those of you in the audience that might be over the age of 50, what these kids are smoking and consuming when it comes to marijuana is significantly different than what you smoked at Woodstock or in the 1970s or early 1980s. It is more powerful. It is laced with stuff that you did not have previously. It is a different argument. So dismiss any memory you might have of a generation prior. There's so many studies I could go through. This one in particular by Dr. Daniel Amen. Scary ways marijuana impacts the developing brain. My first contention is this. We have to agree that there has been an intentional downplaying of the negative parts of marijuana. For so many kids I talk to say, oh, it's no different than just drinking Diet Coke. It's no different than just drinking Gatorade. It's from the earth. It's fine, man. We have an increase in hospitalization visits for psychosis. Half of marijuana users talk about increased depression. increased anxiety. Long-term effects, modern cannabis is vastly more potent than in the 1970s. THC concentrations exceed 20 to 30%. They are common, with concentrates reaching 70 to 90%. The long-term neurological and psychiatric impacts of such high doses are poorly understood and could present a serious public health crisis later. So we just must first say that there has been a downplaying of what this drug actually is, especially as we present it to young people. Now, more towards the societal impacts. A study last year out of Canada offered the strongest evidence yet in children associated with psychiatric or psychotic disorders when a person loses contact with reality. Consuming marijuana while pregnant increases the odds of preterm birth, low birth rate, and infant death. A study this year out of San Francisco shows that marijuana is really bad for your heart, and we can't miss the IQ one. A 2021 analysis that looked at several thousand studies found overwhelming evidence that marijuana use lowers IQ, especially when it's used by children under 18. The average IQ loss was about 2 points. That's a lot to lose from something as common as weed. Now, but you might say, Charlie, I know weed is not good, but I don't care if somebody else does it. It does not impact me. And I want to challenge that head on. First of all, it does impact you. Do you think Portland, Seattle, San Francisco, and Denver, Vegas, Los Angeles, and parts of Phoenix even have gotten better, healthier, stronger, more pleasant since the legalization of marijuana? Do you think New York is a better place to walk around? Do you think it invites the right types of people? Do you think it lifts us up higher towards national unity, strength, towards a goal of either defeating the Chinese or being virtuous, going on a journey, triumphing over evil? Do you think marijuana invites that kind of culture? Open air drug use is widely rejected by any decent society. And the consumption of marijuana, as we have seen out in the open in so many of these cities, doesn't just create a messier, it creates a less enjoyable place to live. Now, there's a video, which I think is very important, of a DC resident walking through the new Trump version of DC and commenting on how much better it is. Let's play cut 406.
Man, down the city is quiet as a church mouse, man. I came all the way down Pennsylvania Avenue this morning. So peaceful, yeah. I don't smell no weed, yeah. I don't see no homeless people. I mean, I came all the way through the southeast side, all the way down here. You can see now I'm at the White House jump, man. It's quiet, yeah. It's a shame that it takes somebody to have to sit in your classroom in order for you to be in order, yeah. Because that's what it feels like, yeah. You gotta be babysitter to do your job, yeah. Stuff been out of control for years. You gotta do better, yeah. You gotta do better, yeah. And mainly, young, you got the problems. It's us, man. It's always us giving everybody a bad name, yeah.
Did you notice the first thing he said? I don't smell no weed no more. He mentions it before homeless people and before feeling safer. The first thing, he doesn't smell weed. So it's interesting. Unlike drinking a beer, and I will address alcohol because people try to make that comparison. If somebody drinks a beer, unless they get in a vehicle or become violent or belligerent, I don't have to smell that unless I get in close contact. But when somebody smokes weed out in the open, I do have to smell it. I then have a less pleasant experience in that moment or throughout the day because of your licentiousness. And weed is undoubtedly, and the widespread usage of weed, especially in public, is a leading indicator of criminality and degeneracy. And again, a note to the medical stuff. It's by far, its worst effects are on young people. And I'm going to get deep into the young person thing in a second, because legalization comes with a tacit endorsement from the government that this is okay. And I'm going to go through some of these numbers here and show that where it is legalized, youth rates go up because they think it's okay. Surveys show this. Independent review studies show this. There are so many arguments here, and I'm going to talk. I want to go through the breaks, guys. I want to just blow the brakes because it's very important. I don't think we'll have time to build out this argument properly with the usually allotted time. I want you to answer this question if you are pro legalization or reclassification. If more people did marijuana, would America be better? That's the most important question. If more people smoked, consumed marijuana, would America be a better country? Yes or no? It's a very important question. And if your answer is no, then we should do things that will lessen and that will decrease usage, not endorse it and try to increase usage. And these numbers, by the way, the studies are incredible. Heavy marijuana use is linked to 5 times higher risk of psychosis in young adults from the Lancet Psychiatry 2019. Colorado ER visits for cannabis-induced psychosis tripled right after legalization. And by the way, there's another study, in addition to the one that Blake sent me, of an average drop of 8 IQ points by the Dunedin study in PNAS 2012. Now, let's talk about the youth side of it. This is a very important thing because you might say, but Charlie, if we legalize it, it's all just going to be parents that have to just parent their kids. Who are you to say that if an adult wants to just be able to get high, they should not be able to get high? That sounds good. That is an oversimplification of the society we are living in. Firstly, in legalized states, the perception of marijuana's harm among teenagers fell by over 20% in 10 years from the Monitoring the Future survey, making early initiation more likely. How about traffic deaths? After Colorado legalized, marijuana-related traffic fatalities rose 151% between 2013 and 2020. Do you know that we have more DUIs for marijuana than for alcohol right now in this country? Let me repeat that. We have more DUIs of people driving under the influence of weed than driving under the influence of alcohol. Usually when you think of a DUI, you just think they had too many beers at the bar. Not anymore. We now have driving under the influence that has surpassed the amount of driving under the influence of alcohol. Not to mention, of course, the skyrocketing potency. 1970s marijuana, as I mentioned, averaged 2 to 4% of THC. Now concentrates are 90% of THC. So some of the people that are older say, but I smoked weed back then. You're talking about something that had 2 to 4% of THC and now 90% of THC. It's a different drug than used to exist. And of course, urban decay. Denver police logged 3 times more public health consumption citations post-legalization. San Francisco struggles with cannabis litter and open air use, driving away tourists. Nobody wants to be around open drug use. People flee. They will go into debt to buy homes where they do not have to be around that. Heavy weed users are 60% more likely to miss work, 75% more likely to show poor job performance, according to the Journal of Occupational and Environmental Medicine. So let me put a pause. If we want to defeat the Chinese, is more drug use better or worse? If we want to go to Mars, if we want to build great things, if we want to start new companies, if more employees are using weed, does that make us stronger or weaker? When you normalize a vice, there are exponential and unpredictable consequences. And an important flip side to this, people always say that we might as well tax it because prohibition doesn't work. Completely false. When you ban something, people use it less. And I actually am going to go through the 4 big lies of the marijuana industry that I have heard over the last decade. And we can now test, using the scientific method, all 4 of those major contentions. 1, 2, 3, 4. Because the marijuana industry made very, very convincing proclamations when I was just getting involved in politics. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to do that once we welcome back radio because I want to make sure they hear that. But another component of all of this, which cannot be lost, is that when marijuana is legalized, you invite corporate actors that are very, very good at making things addictive. And what I was talking about previously is quality of life. Quality of life is a very important component that is lost. Does widespread weed consumption and the proliferation of weed improve the quality of life in America or make it worse? I want your thoughts, freedom@charliekirk.com. I'm going to get a ton of angry messages, especially from younger people, but that's what makes our program different. We stand on truth. We have strong opinions. We will support them with data, as I have, regardless of the backlash that we get. So if you're supportive, email me, freedom@charliekirk.com. If you're not supportive, you can email me, freedom@charliekirk.com. And again, the operative question, the most important question, will more people using weed make America a stronger, better, happier, more joyful country 50 years from now, or less so? Some people say it will make it that way. I completely disagree. I think the data is totally different. But now let's play a little offense against the marijuana industry. The marijuana industry needs to be held accountable because they tell us things that end up not being true. And they do so without any accountability whatsoever. The marijuana industry made 4 major arguments. They made 4 major arguments, and they're very compelling. The first of which was this, that if you legalize marijuana, that there will be a decrease in crime, especially homelessness, degeneracy, because when you legalize it, you can make it proper, and that you can make it more acceptable. The opposite has actually happened. When we have legalized marijuana, we have not seen decreases in crime. We've seen more homelessness, more degeneracy, more heavy drug use, which I'll get to in a second. Is Denver safer because they legalized marijuana? Is Seattle safer? Is Portland safer? Is San Francisco safer? Is Los Angeles safer? Of course not. So that contention needs to be put under heavy examination. Now, they might say, well, there's not a one-to-one correlation. I think we need to look at cities even more so than states. And Denver really was the petri dish. Seattle was really the petri dish. The second of which is probably the most important of all this, and I want to spend the most amount of time on this one. We were told growing up that if you legalize marijuana, the amount of kids that use marijuana will go down. I think we can all agree here in the audience, even if you are pro-legalization and pro-reclassification, we do not want minors to be able to smoke weed, to be able to do edibles. That is bad. This was just an insultingly dumb lie, and so many people bought it. And honestly, I almost bought it for a while. Oh yeah, if you kind of make it legal, then they'll have to show their ID to go to a place. But when things are legal, they do it more. When things are for sale all over the place, people use it more. And one of the best arguments, and Blake introduced this argument this morning, that I think is rock solid. Marijuana was decently problematic when it was grown underground and you had to buy it secretly from some dealer in a parking lot. But with full legalization, things have become different. Think about what our market for food and beverages is like. Well, corporate America, they have the best experts, the best scientists, and the best marketing forces. They're very good at marketing products and making them as appealing as possible. It's not an art, it's a science. And that science has made America really, really fat. Now, look and imagine unleashing all that corporate power where all they care about is making money on promoting marijuana. Imagine the experts at Coca-Cola, Nabisco, McDonald's, having free reign to make the most potent and addictive marijuana they possibly can. Imagine Costco selling a family pack of weed for just $99. It'd be disastrous. So imagine the geniuses that are able to addict you to order another Big Mac, that are able to addict you to keep on drinking Diet Coke, that are able to addict you to order another Super Size Me meal at McDonald's, to now all of a sudden have those geniuses, those marketing professionals, have the full machinery behind the marijuana industry. Boy. And youth usage has not gone down. Youth usage has gone up. We have more young people that are doing marijuana, that are smoking marijuana, that are smoking weed than it was 10 years ago. The third contention, which is also just a lie. We were told that, hey, and this was the one that really the marijuana industry needs to be held accountable for. We were told that if you legalize weed, if you legalize cannabis, the cartels will be weakened. Do you remember this? We were told that, hey, if you legalize marijuana, the cartels are going to have nothing to do. The cartels are going to disintegrate. It'll make them go out of business, no different than the bootleggers that went out of business when we got rid of prohibition. Another insulting lie. The cartels are stronger than ever because now they have graduated towards the drugs that marijuana is a gateway drug towards. And let me say this, marijuana is absolutely a gateway drug, especially the type of marijuana that is laced with THC, the edibles, the type of psychedelic mergers that are done sometimes with cannabis. Marijuana was a gateway drug, not always to hard drugs, but to a life of slow cognitive decline, low IQ behavior, lower social standards, and an apparent culture of shamelessness. That's from AJAC on X. Let's go through the breaks. I have more to say on this. Email me, freedom@charliekirk.com. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you think we should reclassify marijuana as a Schedule III drug? We were told the cartels would be weaker. And finally, and this is the most critical thing, they said that, well, if you legalize marijuana, that people are going to not revere it as much because when something's illegal, there is an allure to it. But when you legalize it, people kind of shrug their shoulders and they're not going to be drawn to it. My goodness, that was a catastrophic lie. So now we look at the picture across the country and we have test cases. Are young people doing better because of it? Are young people stronger? Are they smarter? Of course not. And look, parents also need to step up. I don't want to just throw this all on the government. Remember that many parents who smoked pot in college, so they may be too laid back on this issue because they think it was a marijuana from the 1970s and 1980s. Parents, you need to step up and educate yourself, read the documents, read the science. And now finally to the societal component, which is probably the hardest argument to make. But if you wanted China to win, if you wanted another power to become the geopolitical the dominating force across the world, you would medicate the masses while they stumble aimlessly through life, owning nothing, loving nothing, with no purpose, but simply a mirage of smoke and a temporary high from THC. We should always be asking the macro question in alignment with the micro question. What kind of country do we want to be? What makes us more likely to remain a superpower? What makes us more likely to remain prosperous and happy? Now, I'm going to get a ton of emails from people angry. Charlie, marijuana helped me with this condition and that condition. Medically, I'll accept all of your arguments. I can't comment on that. But that's a small portion of people that might have PTSD or they might have broken a leg and all that. Fine. That's not at all what we're talking about here. We are talking about the mass recreational undercurrent here. Now, some people might be talking about, but Charlie, what about alcohol? What about alcohol? Well, firstly, in some ways you can make an argument. Alcohol is not as great as you might think. People think alcohol is awesome. I don't drink. The president doesn't drink. Tucker Carlson doesn't drink. Drinking is not great for you either. So to elevate alcohol as some sort of, well, we need to make weed like alcohol. No, alcohol is responsible for a ton of domestic abuse problems, a lot of DUIs, but not a majority, as I mentioned. Widespread alcohol use in this country has not made America better. You can make an argument that alcohol at least has some social lubricant side of it, where marijuana is more of an isolation drug. That's an okay argument. But I would just make the more important contention, alcohol is currently legal, marijuana is currently not legal. Drinking isn't great, but also it's better to have just one mainstream acceptable drug than 20. And alcohol is legitimately a poison. And information on alcohol getting out has caused usage, by the way, to drop off a cliff. Gen Z is no longer drinking alcohol, and they're not even resorting to weed. And good for you, Gen Z. You will be happier, you'll be stronger, you'll be more loyal to your spouses, more likely to have children, you'll be thinner, you'll be skinnier. Simultaneous alcohol and marijuana use is a huge driver of impaired driving cases now. And by the way, with Gen Z, alcohol use is down 64% of the population to just 54% in the last decade. That's from Gallup. In a second, I have to welcome Jack Hibbs to this program. And I want to just close my argument here, which is we have the test case. We can see it. Youth usage is up. It's stronger than ever before. Psychosis, depression, anxiety. The data on marijuana use is not good. But what kind of country do we want? What national project are we aiming towards? I will reiterate time and time again. I want a sober country. I want a country that doesn't need to medicate themselves. One of purpose, one of drive, one of meaning, one of divine connection. Not one where you're kind of just sluggish, kind of sitting around, slothful, blaming other people for your problems. Now, marijuana can't be blamed for all of it, but it won't help. This century will be defined as either a Chinese century or an American century. That is an indisputable fact. What is China doing? No drug use. They don't want that. They see what it does to the West. So if China, which is the rising superpower, says we don't want to bring it here because we've seen what it has done to the West, we probably shouldn't do more of it. Instead, we should reject the siren song of more drugs. Commit ourselves to things that matter. In my opinion, reclassification would be a mistake.